Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to carve a little bear out of basswood. And you can see here, I've got a 1x1 by 4-inch piece of basswood that I carved into two little bears, painted them up. So basically what we'll be doing is just making one of these bears with this thing. And I have other sizes of them. You know, I've got these bigger ones that are like 2x2x4. They're the same thing, they're just a little bit smaller, the ones that we'll be doing. But you can see these are the bigger ones, and then I've done it with all kinds. And then I've got other kinds, like this one's sitting on a rock. This one's sitting on his house. This isn't really the same thing, but kind of. It's up in a tree. So anyway, let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is mark out where the center line will be. It doesn't have to be perfect. One of the bears could be a little bigger than the other one. That doesn't matter. So there's our center line, and then we're going to want to, we'll use this for reference. Then we're going to want to mark out where the head goes. And that kind of doesn't matter either. I like to make the heads a little bit bigger. In fact, let's make it a little bit bigger than even that. And let's just jump right into it and carve it up. So I got a glove on here because I have cut myself before. So first things first, let's cut out. Let's do a corner V cut here and get rid of, kind of mark out where the sides of the head will be. Here's a rocking horse cut. Kind of clean that up a little bit. Okay. Again, it's not perfect, but it's, you know, we could do that all the way around. Let's just mark out these corners here. Okay. And then do our sort of rocking cut here. Clean this up a little bit. And this will be basically where his butt is, where he's going to be sitting. Okay, cool. Okay, so now let's mark out where his head's going to be. And I think we're going to do probably where my first line is, a little bit in between the two. And down here, we can pretty much do whatever we want. We could do another bear, we could do a little, like I said, like a little rock, a house, you know. Doesn't matter. It's up to us. So, all right, let's clean this up here, give this some form. Okay, so now we want to cut around the sides. So you can see on this one, it goes all the way around the sides here. And we just got to cut it in a little bit. Same thing we did on the bottom, we're going to do right here. Let's quickly do that. Make our little marks. These are V cuts, and then another V cut here. I think they call this a rocking horse cut. I don't know. I could be making that up, but I think it's because it rocks back and forth when you try to cut in. It's like the quickest way to do it. Anyway, okay. Excuse me. We have the head. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the ears. Okay? And I like to keep these ears fairly simple. All we're going to do is we're going to go to the back, wherever that is. Just make a little cut here and a little cut right here. Okay? Then we're going to V cut in. And we're going to remove some of that material there. Oh, let me actually get this here. Get this out of here. Being a little bit stubborn. Okay. And then we're just gonna go over to the side and we're gonna do the same thing, okay? So right here and right here, just like this. And that's gonna block out our ears. For some reason I'm having a little trouble with that one, but that's all right. Okay, so you can see right here, hopefully you can see that. You've got the ears blocked out. Now we're just gonna remove this area here. Just remove it, okay? I do lots of these bears just because they're easy and fun and satisfying, and I think my favorite part of them, I love carving them, but I think my favorite part is actually painting them. Okay, so now we've got just the edges here cut off. Now we have to carve out kind of the face shape. You can see how the snout has to be kind of formed there, okay? So let's do that. Let's form the snout. So start somewhere up here and just start kind of getting rid of material and form the snout area of this bear, okay? So just kind of carve it back a little bit, and you can kind of use your discretion, okay? How long you want the snout, how short, it's up to you. I like to keep them kind of shortish. I don't know, kind of makes them look a little bit cuter, I think. Okay. We'll probably do a little bit more on that, but for now, let's just keep on rolling. So now, let's shape the sides of the snout, right? So again, we're gonna take off some of this material here. Okay. Okay, we're kind of shaping it a little bit. And then we're actually gonna cut in and get rid of a little bit more where his belly is, okay? So let's cut back and get rid of a little bit more here. Give ourselves a little more room, okay? A little bit more room is good. Let's see here. Let's see if we can hollow this out a little bit. Clean that up. Okay. Oh, my clothes are done apparently. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to shape the snout a little bit more. So let's take off a little bit here. We want to make the snout a little bit narrower than it is. Okay. So shape that up real nice. And then one thing that we do want to do is we want to make sure that all sides have been carved. There's no uncarved raw surfaces on this bear. Now I usually will just kind of take off a little bit of the top, but it all has to paint the same. And if you leave some raw, I'll clean this up a little bit. When you leave some raw, they just, especially that rough area there, you see that? It just won't paint the same. It'll kind of suck up the paint a little bit more. And then we can kind of round these edges off here. Be kind of careful with that you don't take too much off, but whatever. And then we'll kind of just make little cuts here and round these off, just so they're not so blocky and pointy. Take a little off the back here. Okay. Like I said, a lot of times I will just kind of carve off. It can be kind of hard. You don't want to take too much off because then you start losing some of his head, but you know, just cut off a little bit of it. Oh, this is hanging on here. Okay, whatever. Let's move on. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is let's round off the back a little bit. Round off the back a little bit. Maybe carve this in a little bit, but then we're going to do the arms. Okay. So generally, the arms can be wherever you want them to be, but I like to do them along the sides here, just like some little short arms, whatever, you know. And what we're going to do is we're going to V-cut these out, and then we're actually going to have his feet right there, and kind of right there, and kind of like this. Okay, so let's make that happen. So the first thing we're going to do is do his arm, and we're going to do a V cut here. Well, first let's make our cut and just get the outline of the arm. Be careful not to cut yourself if you can. And then V cut it out. That'll sort of shape the arm. Oh, let's see here. All right. You got to kind of finesse these because it's such a small block. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Make a cut. All the way around. Okay. And then do a little V to cut this out, sort of make a relief of it, I think is what it's called. Okay. And this will give us just kind of the shape of the arm. Just something to work off of, really. Okay, something like that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make a cut here and sort of give ourselves the edge of where the feet are going to be. Then we want to get rid of some of this pot belly here. Maybe not all of it, but like quite a bit of it, because we want it to, distinguish the feet from the rest of the body. Okay. So we're just gonna get rid of some of this material here, and then we can kind of figure out what we're doing. You can see it's already kind of turning into a bear. So now I'm actually going to just make like a V cut here, and that will distinguish where the feet are. So dig in and go fairly deep here. Okay. Hopefully you could see that. And then here. Okay. And then let's get rid of some of this material here. You can see I'm not really sticking to my lines very well. Those lines are basically just for reference, but I'm not gonna stick to them all, you know, very stringently. So then, yeah, we just want to get rid of some of this material here, which can be a little bit tough, especially with just a knife and no gouge. But you just gotta kind of get in there and, you know, just figure it out. You can do it. My wife's putting my son to sleep, and he doesn't want to go to sleep. I can tell that. Get rid of some of this material. Okay. And then just try to get it as, I guess, as flat as you can in there. Oh. Try and clean that up a little bit so we don't have so much going on. Okay, we'll figure that out later. Now back to the arms. Now you can see what I have with this one is I just kind of outline the arms, and then just kind of, you know, with this one I kind of just gave them a pot belly, but with the one that I'm doing now, it's not so much, it's not so prominent. So I'm just going to define the arms a little bit better. Okay. That way we can really see. Uh-oh. Well, actually, that's a good thing. We did have to get rid of some material above the arm, so I guess that so-called mistake wasn't much of a mistake. Okay, let's do that on the other side, actually. Let's get rid of some of that material so that we can define the arms a little bit more. And again, you can just keep kind of cleaning this up and giving him more and more. You can give him as much or as little of a chin as you want. And then I'm just going to actually just clear this up to where his butt's going to be sitting. And generally what I'll do is I'll kind of just erase the lines, and I'll make sure there's no sharp edges. So I'll go around and just kind of cut off the lines. You know what I mean? And then this could be a little bit more farther back. But this is kind of the general gist of it. If you kind of follow these steps, you can do a lot of different things, and you can make all kinds of different bears and in all kinds of different configurations. And you can do them big or small. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I've got this guy here, and I like painting them. You can see how much bigger it is, you know. But I'll cut off these lines and then kind of, shape this thing into more of a finished product, and then I'll paint it up, and then it will look like this guy. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea, and then you can do like little things to make it more, make it a little bit different than mine. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. And define the feet a little. I'm now looking at it. These feet need to be a little bit more defined. But anyway, that's the general gist of it. Thanks for watching.